Hi everybody, it is Calxiyn here at RTX 2022, and I'm going to be telling you guys about a clip today. Sorry, this is going to be unedited because we are literally in the hotel room. So this is not the teaser trailer, this is the clip that we saw. It's the first 4 minutes of the first episode, and you guys were curious about what we saw, so I have some notes here. So the opening scene, we have this fly that looks like a rocking horse, which is kind of like a Wonderland-y reference. Is it a horse fly? Is it a rocking horse fly? Like that sort of thing. That's something that I remember, I think, from the Alice in Wonderland movie. So immediately we get that whole Wonderland fantastical vibe. And then we have RWBY walking around the island, and basically she's going through kind of this clearing, these two trees, and she keeps going through it, and there's a dodo bird. I think it was green, a green and pink dodo bird, and so she keeps walking, and it keeps sending her back through the loop. So if the tree's here, she keeps walking through, and then she starts again, and the dodo bird starts laughing at her, which was pretty funny. So she starts to get frustrated because she's not getting anywhere. It seems based off of where the camera was panning, she's trying to go to the tree, but she can't reach it. So she gets frustrated and she starts crying. And this is when the mouse, if you guys have seen the mouse on Twitter, Little starts to notice her basically. And so she leans down on the tree, on the floor, I guess of the ground, the dirt, floor of the world, and she starts to cry, and the island starts to rain, which I think is really interesting because I feel that means that it's reacting to her emotions, and it could be reacting to all of their emotions, depending on where the characters are. We see this shot in the teaser trailer where Neo is, really pissed, and so I wonder, if the island could also react to stuff like that, later on. We didn't see the island reacting to Neo being pissed, but that could be something that happened. So I think that for you guys theorizing, it may be basically tangible at this point that the island is reacting to their emotions. When she starts to cry, it starts to rain, which I think is super sus. And so I think that that's basically what's happening. So then we have the mouse, which is named Little by RWBY. So the mouse is trying to forage for this plant, and there's a giant thing of cheese at the end. So again, very Wonderlandy, mystical stuff. So RWBY ends up helping the mouse, and she's like, oh, if only you could help me, right? Because she helps the mouse. So she's like, well, I did this for you. If only you could do something for me. And that's when it starts to talk, and RWBY freaks out, which was really, really funny, really cute. I'm not sure who the voice actor for the mouse is. They did say it at the panel, but I missed it. But it has a really cute voice. It reminds me of My Little Pony, Tara is Strong, I guess, vibes, but I don't think that that's who it is. But yeah, the mouse is really, really cute. Something else about the mouse that I wrote down that I remember is the mouse says oh, do you want to share? I guess it's only fair. So it's talking in rhymes. Again, a very Wonderland sort of vibe and situation. Something else to note is that the mouse doesn't actually know what RWBY is. It asks, what are you? And then RWBY says I'm a human, I'm a girl, I'm a huntress. And the mouse is just oh yeah, that's a lot of stuff. And it doesn't seem to have any sort of knowledge of what any of those things are, unless it's pretending, because what's weird is that in the teaser that you guys should have seen already, there is a human girl on the beach with this blue dress with a bunch of trim at the bottom, and she has a bandage on her leg. So either the mouse is lying or the mouse has never seen that girl before, because that could be a Neo disguise. I personally think it's Alex. I think that it's the girl who fell through the world, possibly also Alex, maybe the summer maiden sort of thing. So that's who I think it is. But that's interesting that there is another human on the island who is not Team RWBY, Neo, or Jean in the teaser, but the mouse has never seen a human before, so just an interesting thing to keep track of right there. So RWBY introduces herself, and then the mouse asks if to RWBY, to RWBY, a verb, I guess, an action verb, if to RWBY is her purpose, and then the mouse also, doesn't have a name, so RWBY names it Little. I can't remember what RWBY said. I think RWBY was no, that's not my purpose, that's my name, and then the mouse was well, I don't have a name, or I think maybe RWBY asks its name, and the mouse says that it's too young yet. So she names it Little, and then it asks how one littles, right? So it may just be the mouse, but I kind of get the vibe that maybe they don't all have names and stuff like that. Maybe they don't have that same sense of identity on the island, right? It says that it's too young, but it doesn't seem to understand, even when RWBY's I'm Ruby Rose. It doesn't seem to understand the concept of what a name is. So that's interesting. It asks what is to RWBY, right? And I also wonder if that'll fit in with all the identity stuff that they've sort of talked about, like, oh, this volume, like, they're gonna struggle with their identities just because, like, there's something after this. So RWBY asks if the mouse has seen other people, and the mouse is like, exactly like you, and she says, not exactly like me, like, we're similar but different. That could be a little like, you know, like, we're not all on the same side, like, you know, with, obviously, with Neo falling, like, we're similar but we're also different, like, that sort of thing. Like, maybe to see the humanity even in Neo, even though she's a villain. I don't know, maybe it's just brain rot, but that's the first thing that I thought, right? The mouse still is not getting it. So RWBY's like, okay, well, one has long blonde hair, and then the other one has cat ears. She doesn't mention Weiss, Jean, or Neo because she doesn't know that they fell. Well, actually, she knows that Neo fell, so I guess she just didn't mention Neo because she doesn't give a shit. But she knows that, like, obviously, Yang fell trying to save her, and then Blake falls after. So she only asks about Yang and Blake. She only says one has long blonde hair, and then, like, the other one has cat ears, and that makes the mouse freak out. And so there's a nice, like, comedic scene. All right, guys, sorry, I got cut off because, again, hotel. So basically, they have that little, like, comedic bit where it's like, oh, yeah, one has long blonde hair, Yang, one has cat ears, and then the mouse freaks out and all of that stuff. And so that's when the mouse says, I've never seen anyone who, like, does look like you or doesn't look like you. And so that's basically, like, I've never seen a carbon copy of you, because that's what the mouse, like, assumes first, like, looks exactly like you, or I've never seen, like, another human. I've never seen a human with cat ears or long blonde hair. That's what I think that the mouse kind of, like, meant and what that conversation was getting at. And so then they say, but somebody in my village may know, right? And so I think that that's interesting because the mouse has a village, but, like, who is in the village? Obviously, we see other characters in the teaser. We see the cat. We see kind of a robotic looking person. We see a suit of armor. Like, we see a bunch of stuff like that. But is it, like, are those people the people that are in the village, or is it, like, a village of, like, all mice or something? We just don't know. But that's basically where the scene ends. The mouse basically says that the village and the people in the village are foraging, like, they're out looking for food because they need food, and then it's like, hey, like, you know, a couple more of those cheese plant things wouldn't hurt. So basically, like, coaxing RWBY to help. But those are basically the key points, I think, that the island may be reacting to RWBY's emotions. That the mouse has never seen a human before, even though we do see a human-looking girl that is not Team RWBY on the beach in the teaser trailer that you guys should have seen. Also, that the mouse has, like, a village, that there are clearly more people, even though they may not be human, people on the island and stuff like that, and asking RWBY to help. So it seems like that RWBY will be with this mouse for at least, like, a little bit in some time. I don't know how much time I have left on my camera here, guys. You guys may see me end abruptly, I guess I should say, but I hope that gives you some insight on the first episode. Again, those key points about, like, the island seemingly reacting to emotions, the mouse, the village, the fact that the mouse has not seen a human being before. Maybe the island has no other human beings other than Alex. That's a very interesting thing too. But yeah, I hope that this was able to give you some insight, and I will see you guys when we get home so Hunter and I can react to the teaser trailer. Bye, everybody.